I used to think the most painful thing a girl could hear from the man she loves is, "I can't love you anymore." Turns out, there is something deeper, something that stings, like cold rain falling through a cracked roof onto the heart. It is the silence of a man who loves you so much. He feels ashamed to even look into your eyes. My name is Lillian. I grew up in a world covered in chandeliers and velvet curtains. A world where birthdays meant diamonds, and even breakfast came with silver spoons and servants who bowed. People said I had everything a girl could dream of, though if you had looked closely, you would have seen a lonely girl behind those sparkling lights. I was raised in wealth, yes, but I was also raised in expectations. Expectation to shine, expectation to choose a partner who matched the zeros in our bank account, expectation to never embarrass the family name. Love, in that world, was a luxury only allowed if it followed the rules. Then Samuel came into my life, a man who broke every rule without even trying. He had no fancy suit, no last name known by the rich, no expensive car waiting outside. He had calloused hands, soft eyes, a shy smile, and a heart that glowed more brightly than all the chandeliers in my father's mansion. Samuel never spoke loudly, yet he made me feel heard. He never gifted me diamonds, yet I felt treasured. He never promised me a castle, yet I felt protected. So I said yes, yes to his love, yes to his dreams, yes to a future with him, until the day we spoke of marriage. That was the first time I saw fear in his eyes, the first time he pulled his hands away from mine, the first time silence replaced his smile. He didn't say the words aloud, not then, but I could feel the truth. My poor Samuel. He couldn't afford a wedding ring. What I didn't know was that moment would reveal something deeper, a hidden truth in my family, something my father carried quietly, painfully, while the world believed him untouchable. A story that began with a missing ring, and ended with a ring that carried the love of a woman I never knew, yet always wished I had. My mother, Samuel, and I met in the most ordinary place. A tiny community library tucked between a flower shop and a bakery that always smelled of cinnamon, a place where time moved slowly like pages turning. I went there when I needed escape. Far from the polished marble floors of our home, far from eyes always watching how I spoke and smiled and breathed, no one there cared if my father was Mr. John, the billionaire businessman. No one looked at my clothes or questioned my presence. That is where Samuel worked. Quiet, gentle, often lost in a book, he pretended not to be reading while arranging shelves. He helped everyone who walked in, the elderly who asked the same questions again and again, the children who ran between shelves with sticky hands, even the rude customers who believed kindness was beneath them. He treated all of them with patience. I noticed that first, his quiet patience. We became friends over many shared afternoons. He brewed terrible coffee in the staff kitchen, and I drank it with a smile because I liked the sound of his laugh when I made a face afterward. Our friendship slowly became something unspoken, a warmth that lingered in the space between our fingers whenever they almost touched, a flutter in my chest whenever he said my name. He never knew who my family was, and I didn't tell him, not because of shame, because I loved being seen as a person, not a fortune. My best friend Hannah was the first one I told. She rolled her eyes, smiling so wide it nearly split her face. So, the rich princess falls for the library prince. Her teasing didn't bother me. Her heart was always in the right place. Then came the day Samuel asked me out. He stood awkwardly, fingers twisting a pen cap, eyes flicking anywhere but mine. Would you? Maybe. Like to get coffee with me somewhere that doesn't taste like disappointment? I laughed. He relaxed. That date turned into two into weeks into months. We didn't need fancy places. We walked in parks, sat on swings, and held hands under cheap fairy lights from street markets. Love doesn't need chandeliers to glow, though my world and his world remain separate, like two planets, circling close yet never touching. Until the night my father found out, I came home later than usual. My smile probably gave everything away. Mr. John waited in the living room, newspaper resting untouched in his lap. His voice sounded calm to calm. Where did you go? To see a friend. A friend. He raised an eyebrow. A man from the library? My breath stopped. Hannah must have slipped. She wasn't good at keeping cheerful secrets. Father, he's kind. Someone I truly care about. You are my daughter. His tone hardened. You will not tie yourself to someone who brings nothing to this family." It wasn't anger that froze my chest. It was disappointment. He didn't ask if Samuel treated me well, if he respected me, if he made me safe, if he made me happy. He only cared about the world's opinion. I stood straighter. "I will choose who I love." For a moment, his expression cracked. Not rage, something deeper. Fear. He looked away, his jaw tightening. "I lost your mother to foolishness. I will not lose you." I had never heard him speak of my mother like that. Usually, he avoided her name, as if it hurt to remember. That night felt like two storms gathering, the storm between my father and me, and the storm inside my heart. I told Samuel everything the next day. He listened quietly, his fingers trembling when he held mine. "I don't want to pull you into a life of struggle," he whispered. "You're not pulling me anywhere," I said. "I'm walking toward you." We promised each other then that our love would not be shaped by wealth. We would write our own story. What I didn't know was that love, no matter how pure, can feel the weight of fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of losing what you love most. That fear silently followed us all the way to our engagement. Our engagement began like a secret dream. Samuel proposed to me under a street lamp, with hands that trembled and eyes that shone like quiet stars. He didn't have a ring. He apologized for that. "I want to give you one worthy of you," he said. His voice cracked on the last word. I kissed his apology away and said yes without hesitation. We stood there under that cheap yellow light, like two fools in love, promising an entire lifetime with nothing but hope in our pockets. For a while, hope felt enough. I brought Samuel home to meet my father. A dinner that should have been a blessing became a battlefield of silent judgments. The dining room felt colder than usual. The long table looked like 1,000 miles of polished wood separating us. Mr. John stared at Samuel the way a diamond appraiser inspects. "A cracked stone? What do you do?" he asked. "I work in the community library," Samuel answered, his voice steady but his fingers gripping his napkin. "A librarian?" My father said the word like it tasted bitter. "I love my work," Samuel replied softly. "It lets me help people, and I plan to grow, learn, and build something better one day." My father didn't smile. He didn't blink. He only leaned back and said, "Dreams don't pay for weddings. They don't protect families. They don't secure futures." Samuel nodded, swallowing hard. He looked like a young tree trying not to bend under strong wind. The silence that followed had weight, like bricks. I held Samuel's hand under the table, but I felt him slowly slip away inside himself. Later that night, he walked me home from the gate. He tried to smile, but it wobbled like a candle in wind. "He's right," Samuel whispered. "I should have something to offer you." "You offer me love," I replied. "Is that not enough?" He looked away. "I want you to be proud of me." I was. I always was. How do you convince someone who can't see their own worth? Days turned into weeks of planning. Or rather, other people planning. Hannah helped me pick dresses. She tried to ignore the tension surrounding the ring topic. "Rings come later," she told me while adjusting a veil on my hair. "Focus on your happiness today. The ring is just a circle. Love is what fills it." She always tried to make me smile. Sometimes it worked, sometimes not, because every time I saw couples waving their hands with shiny rings, I noticed Samuel's gaze drop to the floor. Every jeweler's window became a mirror reflecting his insecurities. His paycheck wasn't enough. His savings disappeared into deposits for a tiny apartment for us. He stopped eating lunch at work, saying he wasn't hungry. A lie I recognized too well. His hands grew rougher. Longer shifts, side jobs. Exhaustion hiding behind forced smiles. My heart hurt watching him crumble quietly. He started avoiding wedding discussions altogether. One evening, we sat on a park bench, the sunset melting into soft pink clouds. I rested my head on his shoulder. He stiffened slightly. "Lillian," he whispered, "what if I don't deserve you?" The question punched the air from my lungs. "You deserve love," I told him firmly. "You deserve me, and I deserve you." He nodded, but the sadness didn't leave his eyes. It only grew. The week before the ceremony, my father called him to his office. A gigantic room filled with leather books he never read, and trophies from business deals no one remembered. Samuel stood while Mr. John remained seated, powerful and unmoving. "I will give you a choice," my father said. "You can step back from this marriage, or you can prove yourself." Samuel's throat bobbed. How can I prove myself? By her A-ring, my father replied, not a cheap thing from a pawn shop. A ring that tells the world you are capable of giving her the life she deserves. Samuel's breath caught. That may take some time. You have 1 week, my father cut in, or the wedding is off. Samuel left with fear tucked under his ribs like a knife. When he told me what happened, his hands shook. He wants to test me, Samuel whispered. And I want to pass. I don't care about the ring, I insisted. I care about you. He smiled, but heartbreak lived in his eyes. You deserve a ring that shines as beautifully as you do. I wanted to scream, to tell him that love didn't need permission from gold or diamonds. Instead, I held his face and said, "You are enough." He nodded again, always nodding. Agreeing with words his heart didn't believe. He worked like a man trying to outrun drowning, sleepless nights, bruised fingers. Hope breaking at the edges. Hannah noticed too. She confronted me one afternoon at the cafe. "Your father is squeezing him," she muttered, stirring her drink aggressively. "He is scared Samuel will take you away, the same way he lost your mom." I blinked. "What do you mean?" She froze, realizing she said too much. "There are things maybe you should ask him." I went home with a head full of questions. That night, I overheard my father on the phone in his office. His voice sounded shaken. "Yes, the ring. I know, Helen. I know what it means. I'm only trying to protect her." Protect me from what? When he noticed me in the doorway, he quickly ended the call. "Father," I whispered, nervous to ask, "why are you doing this?" "For your future," he replied without hesitation. "You'll understand one day." His answers always felt like locked doors. The week ended too quickly. Samuel arrived at the mansion early that morning, hair messy, eyes tired, hands empty. He failed. I knew even before he opened his mouth. "I tried," he breathed. "I am so sorry. I tried everything." My heart cracked for him, not for me, for him. My father stood nearby, arms crossed, face unreadable. Samuel bowed his head. "I love your daughter more than anything, but I can't give her the ring she deserves yet." Silence stretched. Even the air seemed afraid to move. Samuel's voice lowered to a whisper. "If you want to call off the wedding, I will step away." The words shattered me. No. I grabbed his hand, gripping him like he was the last thing keeping me alive. Tears misted his eyes. "I don't want to let you go, but I will not trap you in a life without comfort." I felt my father watching every tear, every fear. Samuel's shoulders trembled. "I thought love was enough," he exhaled, breaking. "But maybe love needs proof too." That was the first time I ever saw him cry. Not loud, not messy, just tears falling silently, like rain sliding off a window with no one to wipe it. I wrapped my arms around him. My voice shook. "You don't need to prove love." His reply came quiet and painful. "I already failed." He believed that. He truly believed it. He felt unworthy of me. And my father let that belief sink deep, too deep. I looked up at my father through tears. "How can you do this to him?" I asked. He didn't answer. His cold silence became another obstacle we had to fight, a wall built from his fear and Samuel's shame closing in on us. The world expects love to be strong, always. Reality is crueler. Love bends, love bruises, love doubts, love fears, yet love still tries. Samuel tried until he had nothing left. This moment felt like the end, the breaking point. Though it was only the middle of a much deeper truth, a truth waiting to surface. Wrapped in the memory of my mother and a ring that once belonged to her. The day before the wedding, the world felt paused, like everything was holding its breath. Samuel didn't talk much. He kept looking at his empty hands as if searching for something that never arrived. I tried to fill the silence with hope. "I love you. That's all that matters," he whispered back. "I wish I could believe that as strongly as you do." My chest tightened. Fear whispered cruel things. What if the weight of proving love breaks us apart? That night, I found my father alone in his study. He sat in his leather chair staring at nothing. A single lamp cast a soft golden glow on the wrinkles around his eyes. I walked over cautiously. "Father," he didn't look up. "You think I'm protecting myself?" he murmured. "Truth is, I'm protecting you. I clenched my fists. By hurting the man I love. His reply came with a tremor he couldn't hide. Love breaks, Lillian. It shatters. It leaves you bleeding. A memory flickered in his gaze like a ghost walking through his mind. He finally looked at me. I saw pain etched deep, pain he never let the world see. I lost your mother to a life she wasn't ready for, he whispered. She came from a home without money. I gave her everything, thinking wealth would cover the cracks. But she always felt less. He swallowed hard. She broke under that pressure. She thought I deserved someone better. She left without saying goodbye, and she took my heart with her. I listened, stunned. This part of him I never knew. She left because she believed she wasn't enough. Tears stung my eyes. He nodded slowly. I couldn't save her. Don't ask me to watch history repeat, his voice cracked. I'm not trying to punish Samuel. I'm scared he will feel the same burden she did and walk away from you too. Silence pressed gently around us. He wasn't trying to tear us apart. He was terrified of losing me. My anger softened, replaced by a quiet sorrow. We are not them, I whispered. Samuel's love isn't measured by money. My father's eyes glistened. I want to believe that, he murmured. I truly do. He stood and walked to a drawer in his desk. From inside, he pulled out a small, black velvet box. His hand shook as he held it. This was your mother's, he said. The only thing I have left of her. The ring I gave her when I asked her to be mine. He opened the box. The ring wasn't the biggest or brightest I'd ever seen. It was simple, gold worn thin in places from years of being loved. A single modest diamond sitting in the center like a star that refused to stop shining. Emotion pulled my breath away. Give this to Samuel, he said softly, not as a test, but as proof. I stared at him. Proof of what? He exhaled, voice shaking. That a man who loves you doesn't need wealth to hold your heart. My tears fell freely. This man, this father I believed to be made of steel and stubborn pride, was just afraid of losing the people he loved. I hugged him. For the first time in years, he hugged me back without distance, without fear. He whispered against my hair, I want you to have the kind of love we never got to finish. Morning arrived with soft sunlight. Samuel waited nervously in the garden. He wore his only suit, slightly loose on his shoulders, his fingers twisted anxiously. Samuel, I called gently. He turned, eyes full of worry, heart full of love. I held the velvet box in both hands. His breath caught I couldn't get a ring, Lillian. I failed you. I stepped closer, tears warming my lashes. You never failed me, I whispered. You only failed to see how much you mean to me. I opened the box. The ring glowed with history and hope. This was my mother's, I said. My father kept it because he loved her more than he ever knew how to say. My voice broke. Samuel stared, stunned. He shook his head. No. Lillian, I can't. I don't deserve. I placed my hand over his heart. The steady thumping answered everything. You deserve every part of me, I whispered. His eyes filled, tears slipping silently. Your father gave me this. His voice trembled. I nodded. He believes in us now. He sees your heart. Samuel pressed a hand over his mouth, overwhelmed. I held the ring out. Samuel, will you marry me? He laughed through tears. The most beautiful, broken laugh. Yes, he breathed. I would marry you with or without a ring. With or without anything at all. I slid the ring onto his finger first, before he took my hand with shaky fingers and placed the ring on mine. The world faded away. No wealth, no fear, no barriers. Just love standing strong in the morning sun. In that moment, I realized something powerful. Love isn't about proving worth. Love reveals it. The twist was never that my father hated Samuel. The twist was that he feared love too deeply. He lost it once. He couldn't bear to lose me. That old ring carried a story of heartbreak, and now a new story of healing. Our story. The wedding day arrived soft and quiet, like a whisper that traveled through the trees. The garden was bathed in sunlight, petals drifting down like golden snow, and the air smelled faintly of roses and morning dew. Samuel stood at the altar, his suit still slightly loose, his hands steady despite the tremble in his eyes. I walked toward him, my heart beating with a mix of excitement and relief, knowing we had crossed the storms of doubt and fear together. Hannah smiled brightly from the side, tears brimming in her eyes. She had been there from the start, reminding me always to trust my heart. My father watched from the front row, but this time his gaze was softer, calmer, and free of judgment. I caught his eye, and he nodded, the corners of his mouth lifting in a quiet, almost shy approval. The tension that had hung between us for months melted away in that single look. When Samuel reached for my hand, I saw the same nervousness, the same vulnerability, but also something stronger, a quiet confidence, born from surviving the fear of not being enough. I slipped the ring onto his finger first, feeling the weight of history and love, and he mirrored the gesture on mine. Our fingers met, intertwined, hearts thundering in unison. Around us, the garden seemed to breathe along with us, the flowers, leaning in like witnesses to a love that had refused to bend under pressure. My father approached afterward, placing a hand lightly on Samuel's shoulder. "I see now," he said softly, his voice different from the rigid tone of our past conversations. "You love her, truly, and that is worth more than anything I could give you." Samuel nodded, humility and gratitude shining through his tired eyes. And for the first time, I felt the barrier between my father and my husband dissolve. There were no demands, no hidden tests, only recognition, and respect earned through genuine care and devotion. The ceremony itself was simple, nothing extravagant, yet it held the weight of everything we had endured. Our vows were whispered like secrets meant only for each other, hearts exposed in the raw, honest way that only love unburdened by material need can be. Samuel's voice shook at first, but steadied as he spoke words straight from the heart. I answered, equally vulnerable, equally certain. When we kissed for the first time as husband and wife, it felt like a long overdue exhale release of fear, doubt, and the lingering shadow of past insecurities. Later, as the guests mingled, laughter rising softly around the garden, I watched Samuel and my father speak quietly by the fountain. Samuel's hand rested lightly on the railing, my father's hand hovering near as if to protect, to guide, to finally bridge the gap between worlds that had felt impossibly far apart. There were no more walls, no more silent judgments, only understanding, respect, and the beginnings of a bond born from fear transformed into love. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of amber and rose, Samuel and I walked hand in hand down a quiet path behind the garden. The world felt slower, lighter, safer. I pressed my head against his shoulder and whispered, "We made it." He squeezed my hand and replied, "We did, together." The simple words carried a lifetime of trials, of quiet struggles, and of the truth that love is measured not by wealth, but by courage, patience, and unwavering presence. When we returned inside, my father approached once more, placing the smallest of gestures upon my shoulder, touch light but full of meaning. "In the end," he said quietly, "I see now that love cannot be measured in coins or rings. It lives in the heart, and that is its own wealth." I smiled through tears, feeling a profound sense of peace settle in my chest. Samuel squeezed my hand once more, and together we shared a quiet look that said everything words could not. That night, as I lay in the soft glow of our shared room, the ring gleaming on my finger, I understood fully what had taken months of struggle and fear to reveal. True love doesn't bend to expectation. True love doesn't demand proof in gold or jewels. True love carries patience, forgiveness, and quiet strength, even when the world seems intent on proving otherwise. And as sleep slowly claimed me, I held Samuel close, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart beneath my ear, and whispered into the darkness in the end. Wealth can't measure the worth of love. The words floated softly in the room, a gentle truth to carry us through every tomorrow. A moral stitched into the very fabric of our lives, a life chosen together, unbroken and finally free.